Apex, the peak of South African motoring.
Van, how is your back? You said this morning that it like, did you pull something or?
I brushed my teeth. I think it's the electric toothbrush that maybe had too much horsepower in it, and so I'm in excruciating pain. Thank you very much.
But I'll try and take it like calmly.
Sure. In the Kona N, you're going to take it calmly.
Speaking of the Kona N,
yes.
You have been, and I mean, it's not the Kona N's fault that you have a bit of backache.
Like if I backtrack, maybe I can kind of somehow place some blame on the car. But no, let's leave it at my toothbrush. This is awesome though.
Yeah.
Like, so as you know, I like SUVs, I like compact SUVs, I like Bucky's-ish. So the bigger the better. But this is my kind of pocket rocket.
Okay.
So I'm not like one for like the hot hatches and things. I don't mind it. Geez, I'm not going to get offended at all. But I do think compact SUVs is my sweet spot. And when they kick out 206 kilowatts, does it get better? That is like the perfect little package. I've been hugely impressed with this car.
Yeah.
Handling is great. Look, when we got the car, it had like 170 kilometers on the clock, so very, very brand spanking new. Little bit of a stiff ride, I think, that could be linked to that.
Yeah.
And I think once you like easily add 1,000, 2,000 on the clock, this car will be the dream car on the road.
Yeah.
But I like it. Space, more than ample space for a compact SUV. All the bells and whistles, but I've like thoroughly enjoyed it. You've had it for like a couple of minutes. What is your initial like that? Is it that big surprise?
So, I mean, Van, I haven't been spending that much time in the Kona N as you have, but I mean, getting behind the wheel of this and sampling it, although it has been for only a while, it feels, there's just something about it, because where you just said that, okay, but you like compact crossovers and SUVs and all of that, I prefer low slung sedans and hatchbacks, and I mean, but I do like large SUVs, like luxury large SUVs, like those with a lot of presence on the road. But with this, I must say, when Hyundai introduced the Kona N as a hot crossover, I was a bit surprised that they did do it, and I didn't really know what to expect, because they have the i30 N and I adore that car. So I was a bit weary, but how is this going to be? And so far, with my experience in it, it's been really sublime. I'm really impressed with the car. I mean, the seating position is a bit higher than the i30 N, because I mean, it is a crossover. Yeah. So and I think in our market and around the world as well, that shift to crossovers and SUVs, people do enjoy a taller driving position.
Yeah.
So I think for someone who enjoys a bit more space, a taller driving position, and a bit more ground clearance, I think this might almost be, let's say, their replacement for a hot hatch like the i30 N, like the Kona N sibling. And
that's like a cool little double garage. Like if you want the hot hatch, you chuck the i30 N there, and if you want kind of something a little bit more practical, you've got the Kona N.
Exactly. And I think with this, I'm very surprised. Or I won't say necessarily surprised, because looking at the i30N and how that handles and how it feels on the road, at first I did think, but how is it going to be in a compact crossover? But the handling is so good for this package. It's pinpoint sharp, and I mean the ride, although on the stiffer side, it doesn't feel as stiff as the i30N, so it is a bit more comfortable. And I mean,
it doesn't have those hectic low profile tires. Actually, when you look at the i30N, I'm like, is there even tire on there that it's low? No, so I think there's a nice balance here that you'd expect from a compact crossover.
Exactly.
And the cabin,
I do adore the cabin. I really do like it. I mean, it is a bit different from the i30N in the sense that you get a digital instrument cluster, where the i30Ns are analog still,
which I think it should be.
I really like the analog items though, but the screen is crisp. You have a larger touchscreen on the dashboard, and then I mean it's so well equipped. So it's like a hot crossover. A hot cross bun.
Oh man. A hot cross.
So with the car, I mean, there's seat heating, there's steering wheel heating. So I mean, dual zone climate control. So I mean, you have the sunroof over here. It comes, I mean, as standard, it is so well spec'd.
Yeah. And
there's all the creature features that you would want in a car. And I mean, do you think that it's a hot crossover? And I mean, yes, you can, it has, I mean, ample performance for what it is, but you do have all these features which makes it
so nice.
And I mean, the exhaust sound is exquisite. It's proper. I mean, to paraphrase or to quote Kellogg's, it's literally snap, crackle and pop at the back.
I thought you were going to say, guess who got it all this morning.
Oh well, rather to quote Rice Krispies then. But I mean, it is a Kellogg's product. But I mean, so there's so much things going on inside, but it's also at the same time, it's not distracting at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you have all the N modes, you have the custom modes, and then you have this NGS button, the red button, which I think it looks so cool. The paddle shifters and everything. And I think as soon as we get onto the straight, I just want to press that NGS button and see how it is. But I really can't wait. So let's see.
Okay, by all means, do it on a 10. Nice. How solid does it sit?
It feels so solid, and it just sounds sublime.
You will be forgiven if you think you're sitting in anything.
So
but
this in grin shift, it really does elicit a grin on someone's face. So it's very aptly named, and I really do enjoy this car. I mean, as you said now as well, I mean, how it sits on the road, how taut the chassis is.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in a package like this. I mean, if you think, okay, about a Kona N, and it's like, yes, it's a Kona N, and it just feels so well. It feels so composed in the corners. I mean, it's not, I mean, I know that Hyundai did, I mean, release it and they said, okay, but I mean, of course, it's a crossover for the track. And the thing with this is although, whereas I would take the i30N on a track, and with the previous model, the pre-facelifted model, the manual version, I did take on track, and I loved it. It was so accomplished there. I won't necessarily take this on the track.
Well, I would, just for shits and giggles.
I'm sure you can, but it's something that I won't necessarily do. But I think, like, take it to a mountain pass. I mean, just go for a lovely, like, a drive that will induce a grin on your face, because I think that's what this car does, especially because it is so surprising in a sense that it's a crossover that can do all of this.
And it's got, well, in my opinion, almost zero competition out there. So
Yeah.
this will kind of place you in a different league. And like we can speculate it kind of how this will do from a sales point of view. Like I don't know if we will see that many on the road,
Yeah.
but I do think the appetite is there for this. And I think once people get the chance to be in the driver's seat and go like, hell, like this just happened, then it'll be a different case. So once you sample it, I do think people will go like, well, yeah, no, I'm not happy with my 110 kilowatts that my little compact crossover is kicking out. I want 206 done. So I do think we'll see a few on the road. And yeah, not to be confused for the N line. I made that little mistake for 2 seconds, and I got very excited when I saw the price for the N line, not for the N. But yeah, look, all in all, it's a good car. The cup holders,
It's a bit small and not, I think, too deep in.
yeah, and it doesn't neatly hold your can, especially if you put like a Red Bull or something like that in there.
And when you push the N grin shift button, it might fly out.
It's got ISOFIX in the back, so you can put some baby seats in there. Again, not that anybody should.
So I mean, but that's
is great.
that's the thing about this car. I mean, there's wireless smartphone charging, and I mean, then of course you can customize your N button. So you have a few customization modes, and you can set the exhaust sound and all of that. Not that you would make it like not as loud as it currently is.
You will make it as loud as you
I will make it as loud as I can, because it sounds so good. I mean, I will, when I leave the house in the morning, I will put the car into like eco mode.
Why?
So that I don't disturb
Do you
the
like
neighbors.
your neighbors?
I don't have anything against them, but I mean, of course, everybody should wake up for work, so I might just as well be their alarm clock.
The sweet and subtle sound of the exhaust of a Kona N. Said no one ever till they experience it, and they're like, oh, this is it. So yeah, I think this is the penultimate hot crossover.
Hot crossover.
Hot cross button crossover. I dig it. I'm impressed, and I like that your air conditioning things. It's got like analog buttons on there, or dials. Like I think it's like just very user friendly. Like I think there was a lot of thought put to the general design and layout. But I like it. It works for me.
So now, Van,
Marius,
before the Kona N was introduced, as we already mentioned, there was another, the i30N, and it recently received a facelift, and it arrived in South Africa, and it arrived with, like the Kona N, instead of a manual gearbox, it arrived here with a dual clutch gearbox. And
I'm excited to try that. I've sampled the manual before. I haven't tried the auto, so I think. So
let's get into the i30N and, well, see how the updated model is.
Yay!
So Van, I've been spending time in the i30N, and I mean, since driving the pre-facelifted one, I mean, not only in town and on sinuous, picturesque mountain passes, but on track as well, I fell in love with it. So much so that, and although it's arguably not as good as some of its rivals, to some people, just the character it has and how special it feels and how special it truly is, it really had me enamored with the hot hatch. And for me it was, but of all of them, that might just be the one that I would choose.
Your fan favorite?
Yeah. But I mean, there are a lot of great hot hatches out there, and ones that some might argue are better. But I think, of course, at the end of the day, there is a certain subjectivity to it, and I want to remain as objective as possible. So about the i30N, I do think there's a few things that they could have changed, a few things that could have been enhanced, but even so, it like the Kona N, it elicits a grin on your face, especially when you hear that snap, crackle and pop from the exhausts. And Van, you have sampled the pre-facelifted i30N as well, and now we're in the facelifted one with the dual clutch gearbox instead of the manual, and it has more power.
Yeah.
So what do you think? How have you experienced the i30N?
I've been so excited to try this, only because I've had the previous one. I've driven that.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it. And look, I always beat down on the poor hot hatches and on the sedans and anything that's not big. But this is truly a car that hits, like, it pulls at your heartstrings completely differently to anything else. This makes you feel young and alive again. And I know it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but
no, I hear what you're saying.
It is. It just evokes this emotion from you that very few other cars do. And yes, within the segment, there's obviously quite a few contenders.
And I mean, they are all great, and they all have their characteristics.
Amazing. Did you see what is this? This isn't a 3-point turn. This was like a 45.5 turn to get to the end of the road where there is no more road. But with that said, no, I was very excited about this gearbox. Obviously, I haven't kind of come close to trying anything with this.
Yeah, previously we only had the manual, or it came out with only the manual, and then they brought out the DCT as well. And I'm glad that we have the chance now to sample the DCT and see how it is, because if you look at our market, although there's definitely a want for manuals, I think for everyday driving, I mean, people do prefer cars that they have self-shifters.
Yeah.
And I think with this, maybe it will be more appealing, but of course the purists will still want a manual, and I mean, that manual was sublime in the previous one, but this dual clutch box is very good as well.
Like, you can't, I'm gonna give it a little go just now, trying to avoid all the Cape Epic cyclists, but it sounds like a very clean transmission, clean shift. I just don't know, that's fine. I'll make a UV and then I'll tell you exactly what I think of it, because right now I think like my wings have been clipped. That's what I think, to be honest. Can we do a launch control on video?
We can try it.
Okay.
Let me.
You're gonna go
set up.
Because that's basically all people care about.
Okay, so are you ready? Okay, N mode.
Are you ready?
Performance options. Activate. Okay.
Here we go. Where's? And you say it goes out to 3,000?
Yeah.
Doesn't really want to.
You can press the.
Okay, 0 to 100 in the lot. Okay, that was fun.
It was fun. Like, I think the thing with it, and that's what Hyundai said about the first one. It's not, I mean, yes, it's quick enough, but at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about only speed and how fast you can go. It's about the joy of driving, the fun of it, cornering, and that's what I love. So I think the thing with the i30N, as what Hyundai said when it was introduced a few years ago with the first model, it's not necessarily about only speed. It's more focused on the joy of driving, how it drives, the fun aspect of it, how it corners, how it handles. And I think what Hyundai's N department has done, well, they definitely achieved it.
Yeah. Like, I think like, this car it is lovely, and like, I don't know why it is, but like, I get such a kick out of this car, which, look, obviously, like, like the Germans has supplied us with enough kick for very many years. But like I get such a kick from what Hyundai's done with this, and it just creates a different feel than what we would feel with any of the rivals for the i30 N. Or well, yeah, and there's a handful. There's actually quite a few if you think about it.
And all of them commendable in their own respects. Like for example, I do adore the Renault Megane RS. I really do like it.
Talking about it this morning, that is the only thing I hate about that car. Or I don't know if it was just the Trophy Cup that had those seats, but the most awful bucket seats ever. Like, mind you, actually I could have used that on my back right now. That would have actually helped with the pain. I think it would have cut straight into where it needed to cut into. But the seating position as it is, for me, a driver experience, is very comfortable.
Yeah,
like,
it is a very comfortable
I was worried
position.
about the seats, like, you know how people go, like, and there's no flat bottom here, which I find quite weird. Like in these cars, there's a flat bottom and there's like a bucket. Like right now, this is like the perfect little everyday seat. So it isn't like overkill, and they try too hard. They didn't need to try too hard because the performance on this, on its own, is ample. You don't need all the bells and whistles, and it just sounds. How nice is that?
It sounds so good.
Oh, it's great, man. It's just like. It's a great car. I dig it. Is it heavy on juice?
It depends on how you drive.
On who
it depends on how heavy your foot is. But I mean, you do have a few modes. So for example, standard, sport, and then eco. And of course you have the N mode and then the custom mode, which you can customize the car setting to your preference. But I have driven it in eco mode for a while, and the car does fall silent to a certain extent. It's not completely silent, but you can feel the throttle response is less than in N mode, for example, or in sport mode. But I think the thing is, when you put it in N mode, it should really be the right time and the right place, because otherwise the throttle response, it's so extraordinarily quick.
Like you can't just cruise and bumper to bumper traffic. Like you will bump straight into someone.
So I mean so it does have that dual personality, although I do think that it's not necessarily a balance between everyday driving and outright performance or a corner carver. I think it's much more focused
on the performance side.
I think it's much more focused on the performance side, and I think that is what makes it great.
And look, I like the general layout of the cabin. Again, like I get a similar feel to the Kona. I like the normal analog dials, or it's very traditional. This isn't,
and it looks beautiful. It's very detailed.
It's crisp. It's clean.
But do you see until where the speedo is going?
I do.
The 3-ton marker. Although I mean, the car won't reach 300 kilometers per hour. It just looks so cool on that dial.
I think my Jeep goes up to, I'm actually going to go check. I want to say like 180. So this is like, that's like a no. Maybe N stands for no, and you shouldn't go. But yes, that is exciting. I like the fine detailing. Like there's an N, like
that silver N on the dials, and
it looks cool. And again, it's also got wireless charging, so it's got everything that you need.
And it has this massive panoramic sunroof.
See, I forgot about that.
And it opens completely. So, I mean, on a nice day like this, you just open it up and go for a drive, and of course let all of that exquisite exhaust noise in.
Let's see how much noise can get in now. Oh no, sorry, that's eco.
Yeah, that's
there we go. I was about to say that was such a letdown. I'm like, keep it. That's quite a big difference. Oh, I like
it sounds so good.
That's great.
But so Van, we've had the Kona N, we've had the facelifted i30 N, and I think both of them, they have their own personalities, but both of them, I mean, this one leans more towards performance. The Kona is more, I think, balanced in a sense. But I mean, both extraordinary cars. But which one will you take home?
Well, there's not going to be a fist fight, Marius. You can keep the i30. we're not going to fight about this. Like, I'm very comfortable with my compact hot cross bun over. No, I prefer the Kona, and I know people are going to hate me for saying it, and that's fine because there is such a culture around this specific car. But yeah, I like it's like if somebody sees you on the road, you're like just going to come like an assassin onto them, and they're going to think like, oh, it's nothing. You're going to sit behind like a Q something or RSQ, and they're going to think like, what's happening here? And then next minute, done. No, like I like the fact there's an element of surprise to that car. And I think that's what you want. Like, you want that cheekiness on the road where it's like cool, normal, compact SUV. Next minute, nothing normal about it. Where I think people see this car and they just want to like egg you on and get you into trouble. So I like the unpretentiousness of the Kona.
I hear what you're saying. But, I mean, between the two, both great cars.
Yeah. No, dude, this is cute. This is cute.
I can't wait to get back behind the wheel of this i30.
No, you can have it. I'm quite comfortable, and my backache is slightly subdued at the moment. So I'm like, I don't know if I should just sit here the whole day. But yeah, and just rave and use all your petrol.
Yeah, it's quite. Yeah, but I mean, as I said, it depends on how you drive. So.
Yeah. So.
But I mean, heated seats, heated steering wheel. And
I'm glad that it's got it well spec'd. Like, if you look at its rivals, to get to this spec, you'd have to drop an extra 100k on those cars as a base car. So I do think the way it's been spec'd out, it is going to be, it's definitely going to be one of the front runners in the pack. And I do think here, where the Kona, I don't think the Kona N won't have that many on the road. I do think we're going to see a lot of these.
I really hope we do, because I mean, the thing about this for me is, and the reason, and I mean, for me it's the same as the Megane RS. You don't see that many on the road, and for me that makes it special. I mean, when I see one on the road, I'm like, wow, like,
you acknowledge it, you take it in.
Yeah, and so you don't see it that frequently, and that's just what I love about it. There's just something special about it, that it is that way. And I mean, everybody, they have their favorite hot hatch. I mean, I have an array of favorite hot hatches because I do like a hot hatch, but this one for me is just, especially in this blue, it will probably be in my top 3.
Nice.
Apex, the peak of South African motoring.